All right, so I have been asked a whole lot in the last couple of months about what this show is about. And I've responded to almost everybody that I didn't know. Or when they told me that they didn't know what the show was about, I was like, neither do I. So, with that being said, I'm a huge procrastinator. And I'm still writing it. So, bear with me. Today, I've gone through this notebook here, and I've written down little words, little phrases and stuff to just talking points. And some of the stuff I've written down is, let's see, accidentally desecrating a corpse. There's a story. We might get to that one. I might skip that one. We'll see. Picked up mistaken for a prostitute. We might get there. Are there any vegans in here? No vegans?
You would already know if there were.
Because vegans are the worst. I am a vegan, by the way, if anyone didn't know that. So,
told you.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, got some good stuff planned. First, my name is Donnie. It is actually Donnie. It's not short for Donald. My full name is Donnie Ray Banks. It's very Burke County. It's on this lovely diploma up here. My mom, I asked her why she named me Donnie because I didn't know my name was Donnie until I was in the 7th grade. True story. I'll probably say that a lot tonight, but everything I'm going to tell you is a true story. So I didn't know my name was Donnie. I've always been called Ray. That's what my mom calls me. She actually calls me Ray Ray. My dad, who is actually here this evening, his name is Ray. It's actually his middle name as well. He goes by it. I've been called Ray my entire life until I was a student at Western Piedmont in 2012, and they called me Donnie. And I didn't want to rock the boat, so I was like, that's me. And that's what I've been going by since. So it's kind of worked out for me. It's kind of a good stage name. I'm an actor, sort of. I'm in a play right now. We're in rehearsal. It's in Marion. A lot of the wonderful cast are here, or people involved with it. Actually, I think only a couple of the cast are here. There's a few of them in there. 4 of them. It's called She Kills Monsters. It is actually going to be a great show. You should check it out if you get a chance. It opens next month. I have about 5 weeks to get into loincloth shape, I'm calling it. I didn't know this until last week, because the play is about this young woman whose family dies horrifically in a car accident. That's not in the play, but it's mentioned. It's just referenced. And she finds her younger sister's D&D game, and she decides to finish it so she can get to know her better and things like that. And so half the game does take place in the D&D world, and I do have to make an appearance, and the director told me the first day of rehearsals that he wants me in a loincloth. And I haven't been in a loincloth ever, and I don't think I've ever been in the shape of being in a loincloth. And I was in the military, so I'm working on it. I've borrowed some weights from actually, I want to thank Bobby Snakes back there. He donated this. Yeah, we know Roddy, right? Yeah, he donated this lovely microphone and speakers and things so that we could be heard tonight. I can be very loud, but I think it works with the microphone. Actually, also, while we're thanking people, I want to thank the Nook for having us here. I want to thank Fox and John from Hotbox Vintage. They designed the set on the fly. Last night, I wasn't going to have a set. I was just going to sit here and talk to you. And last night, they were like, nah, we're going to do a set, man. And this was all found or donated or owned already. So and we put it together in like an hour. They put it together. I set. So, thank you, John. And Fox. And Elliot, who isn't here now, but Elliot from The Mesh, he designed those fly flyers that you've seen around town. So, yeah. So, I don't know what I was talking about. I got sidetracked. So, my name is Donnie. Yes, that's what I was talking about. And I've gone by different names over the years. I've always been called Ray. People that know me through my dad call me Little Ray, although I am much larger than he is. But my mom calls me Ray Ray. So I'm in the 7th grade, and I guess all my transcripts and stuff say D Ray on them, and they asked me what the D stood for, and I didn't know. And I politely suggested that maybe the teacher had made a mistake, and it was the B in Banks, and she thought I was being a smart ass. And I got in trouble. So But I've asked my mom why she named me Donnie, and all she would tell me is she knew how to spell it, and Ray's not a first name. That's all I know. So my name's Donnie. Yeah. So March 20th, 2003. Anybody know why that's a significant date?
That is the day that the U.S. invaded Iraq.
That is the day that George W. Bush declared war against Iraq. Absolutely. I was in Saudi Arabia. I had been there about 2 weeks. I was 19 years old. I was in the Army. I was a driver. Actually, it's called a motor transport operator. It's just a churched up way to say he drives things. And we were there, and officially we were there in case of an influx of refugees pouring over the border after the war started. Unofficially, we were there because we were getting ready to go into the country. So, 5 days later, I am strapped in the belly of a C-17. If you don't know what a C-17 is, it's a very large plane. It's a cargo plane, and along the sides of it are cargo netting seats. And I'm sitting in one of these next to my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Powell, one of the greatest men I've ever known. And, excuse me, need some beer. And he's the only person on the plane I know. And we're on here, and there are 2 large trucks in the cargo bay with us, 5 tons. They're these very large trucks with 6 wheels on them. That's what I drove primarily. I drove many other things, but that's primarily what I drove. And we're strapped in here, and then there's this Air Force pallet with some gear on it. An Air Force pallet's just it's an aluminum pallet that they use to drop out of planes and things like that. And there's gear mounted on it. And it's pitch black, no lights on the plane. We're in the belly of the plane, and we're cruising. It's very loud inside of these, because you're right next to the engines. And this, probably say 20 soldiers on the aircraft, and 5 Air Force crew people. One of them walks up to me and my platoon sergeant. They don't like to be called flight attendants, by the way. And he's like, "Are you the drivers?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, we need you to get into the trucks." Come again? So what we're going to do is when we land, we're going to turn around on the taxiway and lower the cargo ramp and push this pallet out, cruise forward, 5 miles an hour, and you're just going to roll off while we're still moving. Is this normal? I'm asking. And honestly, I only know 2 other people that have ever done this. My platoon sergeant who was on the plane with me, and then my friend Henry, who was on the plane after us. Because everybody else that had gone in with us had convoyed in. Most people went in from Kuwait. We were with a Joint Special Operations Task Force that had gone in from Saudi Arabia. Most people, they convoyed in a few days earlier when the invasion was when it was declared. So, looking back on it now, actually, I guess being inside of the truck is safer than being outside of it. Because if something happens and it breaks free from the chain and is flopping around this cargo bay, it's probably safer to be inside. But, so, I get into the truck, and I strap in, and I got my night vision goggles on. It's very dark. And he comes up, the same flight guy, comes up, and he's like, "All right, when it's time, I will beat on the side of the truck, and you'll crank it. Okay? And then, you'll just follow the other truck off when it goes." Okay, I can do that. That sounds easy enough. Has anyone ever been on an airplane that's performed a combat landing? Casey back there has. Great. What's that like?
It's scary.
Has anyone ridden the Fury? All right, so imagine that, but
Real.
like falling out of the sky. So I'm in there, I'm nervous, obviously. Well, I hope that's obvious. If I wasn't nervous, there'd be something wrong with me. But and we're cruising. It's like short flight, maybe 20 minutes, and then we just start. I have been in 2 airplanes doing combat landing, but this is the only time I've ever done it inside of another vehicle. So the plane just falls out of the sky. And I got my seatbelt on, and I'm in there. I'm a couple inches off of the seat, floating as we're falling through the sky. And we hit the tarmac and we skipped like a stone on a pond, just okay, that's cool. I'm there so far. Then he knocks on the door, the guy does. So I fire the engine up, and then they slow down. They come and they turn around on the taxiway, and you see the cargo bay open. In my night vision goggles, I just see a little bit of moonlight coming in through this door, and they push the Air Force pallet off, and it sparks a little bit as it hits the tarmac, and then I feel the chains release on this truck. And if you've never been in a truck like this, the shocks have been compressed from where they've cranked the chains down to chain it to the cargo bay. So it just releases, and it's bucking in the plane. And the truck in front of me rolls out, and mind you, no headlights on. So all I see is just the trucks have these little, they call cat eyes, little on the back of them, so you can see them infrared. And it rolls off in front of me, and I'm like, okay. And then so I go to follow him, and as I'm following him, when that front wheel hits the tarmac, when the plane's going one way, you're going the other way, it's like being ripped out of the plane. It's just like the ground grabbed the hold of it and just jerked it out. So that was the first night I went to Iraq. So before that, though, I was in Saudi Arabia, and as a driver, I had a cool job. I drove people, mostly, other things, but mostly it's people. And I got tasked to work night shift. Night shift's the best. So, and there were only 19 of us in Saudi Arabia, because we were with a special operations task force, and actually it was the first time that special operations had taken their own support people with them. It was something new they were trying. I think it worked. I don't know. But so a lot of what I did was picked up people from the airfield and took them to wherever they needed to go. And I worked night shifts, so less people came in at night. So I actually had a lot of free time. I actually slept a lot during the night and during the day. But I had this bus. That's what I drove mostly. I drove other things, but in Saudi Arabia, mostly I drove this bus. And it was this 1980 Chevy school bus with a 350 and a 4 on the floor. It was a badass bus. And what we did really pissed the Saudi Arabian government off, because they loaned us these vehicles. We torched all the seats out of it so we could cram more people and gear in them. So there's this one mission. I'm taking this group of officers, and if you don't know the dynamics between enlisted and officers, it's a true class system, where it comes from the old European style, where officers were the aristocracy and the enlisted were the common folk, and it's still very much like that. So I pick up this group of officers, most of them lower enlisted, lieutenants, captains, major, I think was the highest ranking person on this bus. I was a private first class, E3. And we're cruising along in this bus, and this bus is real shitty. The headlights didn't work. It's the middle of the night. No seatbelt, that didn't work. They don't have any seats in it. My windshield's busted. We're cruising. And this smart-ass lieutenant, he comes up to me. He's like, hey man, you gonna turn the headlights on? They don't work. You gonna shut the door? It doesn't work. I lean back to shift it. To get it out of second gear, you had to give it a good kick. And I lean back and kick it so I can get it up in third gear. He's like, does anything on this bus work? So I hit the brakes as hard as I could. After he picked himself up from the windshield, he didn't say anything else to me. I've been arrested twice in my life. This wasn't one of them.
That's awesome.
Myrtle Beach.
Here we go.
2009. This was 10 years ago. Labor Day, as it were. My friends and I decided we're going to go to Myrtle Beach actually, we went down on Labor Day, on Monday. We had one day off, essentially. We drove down Monday, we were going to spend the night and drive back the next day. And we get there in the evening and we check into this real seedy motel. There's 4 of us, my friend Jason, Trevor, and Amanda. And Jason and I are both 25. And Amanda and Trevor were both 19. And we decided, have a beer in the hotel room and then we're gonna strip. And we put our beers into these red Solo cups. That's not legal, by the way. So we learned that. So we're walking down the street with our red Solo cups, and these bike cops come up behind us. And I notice them behind us, and I'm like, be cool. Be cool. So we're walking, and then the bikes go by us, and then they duck into this alleyway. So I stopped, and I was like, hey, let's go back the other way. I think those cops are following us. So we turn around and we go back, and about the time we do, the cops come out, and they're like, what's in the cups? So I chug mine, but no evidence, right? That didn't fly. My friend Trevor, he had the bright idea of, if I don't take my ID with me, and thanks, buddy. And they ask me my age, I can just lie. And they're not going to know. That doesn't work. And actually, they told us that they weren't going to arrest us, but since Trevor lied to them about his age, they did arrest us. I was arrested for drinking in public. Not drunk in public, as I was still on my second beer, but drinking in public. And Trevor and Amanda both received underage possession of alcohol tickets, and Trevor received a resisting arrest charge. Yeah. You know how embarrassing it is to be arrested by a bike cop?
Thankfully, no.
So, but no, they brought a squad car out to get us. And they loaded us up and they took us to county jail. And they put us into the holding cell with about 15 other people. There were 2 male holding cells. I don't know where Amanda went. Luckily, I did have Trevor to be mad at all evening. And Jason there with me. She was by herself. I do feel bad for her. But we're in this holding cell, and they put us in. They let us in there. And we walk in, and there's like 15 other people in there. And it's the middle of the night. It's kind of chilly in this holding cell. They just got concrete benches for beds and seats. And that toilet where if you have to use it, you have to use it in front of everybody. And I walk in, and they didn't give us blankets. And they gave everyone else blankets. I looked around, everybody had a blanket. I didn't have a blanket. And I saw this guy, and he was scared. And I feel bad looking back, but I really wanted a blanket, and he had a blanket. So I walked up to him, I made eye contact with him, and I took his blanket. And I laid down beside him. The next morning, and I didn't notice until the next morning, everyone in our holding cell was white. But I figured it's Myrtle Beach, and that's who gets arrested at Myrtle Beach. But so the next morning, there's a lot of commotion happening in the other holding cell. So they let everyone in, and everybody in the other holding cell happened to be black. And except for one guy. There was one white drunk Marine that they had put over there, and he peed on somebody. And that's why they brought us black men for breakfast, so that they could clean this holding cell. So he made us all look bad. So I got released, time served, after pleading guilty for drinking in public, as did Jason. Amanda, we had enough money to pay her fine for the underage possession, but we did not have enough for Trevor's. Sorry, Trevor. So we went and checked back out of the hotel that we didn't stay in, and drove back to Fayetteville, where I was living at the time. It's probably about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive, depending how you drive, to get the rent money that I had in my drawer to go get Trevor out of jail. So we drove back, and by now I've been wearing the same thing for a good 30-something hours. But we did, and actually Jason and Amanda both were like, no, we're in it. We're in it till it's over. So we all went back down there to get him, and by the time we got to Myrtle Beach, they had moved him to county, which is in Conway, South Carolina. And so, and I told Trevor before we left, I was like, we're leaving, we're coming back, don't call your mom. We get to Conway to pick Trevor up, and guess who's there?
My mom.
Trevor's mom. Yeah. She didn't want to see him though. After we got there, she's like, "You have the money to get him out?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, tell him I love him." Then she left. But we bailed Trevor out, and then we all went to eat at Pizza Hut, and we went home. It was all right. So that was the time I got arrested in Myrtle Beach. First time I got arrested was here in Burke County. Yeah, I was 18 years old. I had just graduated basic training in AIT. That's the Advanced Individual Training is what it stands for. For me, it was truck driver school, essentially. But and I'd come back here because I had originally joined the National Guard and switched over to regular Army because September 11th happened when I was in basic training. Before that, I never even thought about the possibility of going to war. But, so I got arrested for stealing the chili cheese fry sign from the Checkers drive-thru. I am banned from Checkers for life. But they're not in this town anymore, so who wins? You all do, because Checkers is garbage.
I disagree.
It's okay. So, but I don't have a whole lot of the story. That's the highlights. But the reason I'm telling it, and it made me think of it because of Trevor's mom. My mom always told me, growing up, if I ever got arrested, I would call her because she wouldn't come get me. I got arrested and I called my mom. She didn't come get me. She said, "You got in there." My friend that I got arrested with, his dad came and got me out. He wasn't happy. That's enough of that story. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What are we going to talk about now?
Are you taking requests? Because I want to hear about you accidentally desecrating a corpse, dude.
You want to hear about that one? We can do that. Actually, I'd love to. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see if it was accidental, right?
So, it was during my first deployment in Iraq. There was the Rangers had this very large battle at the Haditha Dam. It was a strategic point that Saddam Hussein was going to blow so that he could wipe out this village. And part of my job, we were at this place called H1. That's where I landed that first night. It was airfield that the Rangers and the Air Force Special Ops had jumped in and secured the airfield, and that's where we set up our base at. But strategically, the Haditha Dam was close to there, and the Rangers had a large battle there. And it's actually one of the only battles in American military history where one of the enemy combatants was in a kayak. You can look it up. I'm not making that up. So the night after the battle, I was on the dam. We had gone there to resupply them, and it was dark. And I got out of my truck to use the bathroom, and it was dark. I mind you, it was dark. And I'm urinating. I'm relieving myself in the median of the dam because they have these dirt areas. And I notice that there's this piece of shrubbery or something sticking up that I'm peeing on. Not a lot of shrubs in the desert, by the way. Then I start to look closer, and this shrub is a charred leg. Oh. Yeah. It was that is not much of a story to that one. It's pretty cut and dry. I promise you I didn't know I was doing it. I occasionally have nightmares about that. So.
Do you pee yourself in that?
I've not. I've only peed myself as an adult one time. You want to hear about it? The year was 2007. No, 6. I was living in Idaho. Idaho. I had moved there after the Army. Well, about almost a year after I got out of the Army. I wasn't doing anything. And a buddy of mine that was in the Army, he's Mormon. He was living in Idaho. And he's like, come live in my basement, work construction. I was like, okay. What is it? And one night we went to a bar in, I was living in Rexburg. It's a big Mormon town. It's where BYU, Idaho is. If you don't know what BYU is, it's Brigham Young University. There's 3 of them. The main one is in Utah. But there's one in Idaho as well, and Hawaii, but it doesn't matter. And so we went to this bar, and Rexburg's a dry town. You can't buy alcohol in Rexburg. We went to Pocatello, which is actually like an hour away. There's closer places, but I don't remember why we went to Pocatello. We went to Pocatello. It was myself and him and our friend Clint, who was also Mormon, but Clint was like really Mormon. Clint had never had alcohol. I had never smoked, but he cursed more than anyone I ever knew in the military. But so we went to this bar, and my friend gave me a muscle relaxer. Shouldn't have taken it. I had 2 beers, Bud Lights even, not even really beer. And I was like, I gotta go to the truck and go to sleep. So I did. And I wake up on the ride home, and we stopped at this gas station. And I went in to use the bathroom. And I go in, I go to the stall, urinal, excuse me. I walked up to the urinal, I unzipped, I placed myself in front of it. I did everything I thought I needed to do until I felt the flow running down my pants leg into my shoe. And I realized that I had forgotten to remove myself from my pants. So that's the time. All right. So the last time I went to Myrtle Beach was 10 years ago when I was arrested there. Before that, I had been to Myrtle Beach many times because I was stationed at Fort Bragg, which is encompassed by Fayetteville. And we used to go down there quite a bit. I'd say 10 times I've been to Myrtle Beach probably. And the first time I went with my buddies Joey, who I'm still very good friends with today. He's actually still in the reserves. He's on deployment right now in Qatar. I'm actually surprised that he's made a career out of the military, but I'm proud of him. And we were there, our other friend Cootie, that's his last name, it's a good name. And this guy Peregrine, who I never saw again after that time. I'm sure he's fine. But and we stayed at this motel, and it was actually a motel we stayed at a lot. It was 2 motels owned by the same people. It was called the Sea Park and the Dolphin. But there's a seahorse on it, and so we used to call it the Sea Donkey. That's the nickname that we gave it. And we stayed there. It was real cheap. This was 2002, and I don't even remember. I want to say like $25 a night or something. We say it was real cheap. And all 4 of us are staying in the same hotel room. And we destroyed the hotel. Not destroyed the hotel. That's an overstatement. We broke the bed and a piece of art. And broke a knife off on the wall. And something else. And it's actually funny because when they came in to check the room, we kind of put everything stood it up so it looked okay to try to get the security deposit back. And they wouldn't give it back because the phone didn't work. And not one of us used that damn phone. But anyway. So we're there, and we got a bathtub full of beer. I was only 18 at the time. Joey was the only one that was 21, I believe. And so I was lightweight. I didn't drink very much before then, and I probably only had like maybe 4 beers probably. I was drunk. But I'm sleeping on the floor, middle of the night. And it's one of those rooms, like the floor is probably the safest place to sleep. Less blood and semen there than on the bed. Because we checked the mattress, and there's a big red stain on it. So we flipped it over.
Yeah.
Other side was worse. So I'm sleeping on the floor, and there's this very loud, distinct knock at the door in the middle of the night. You've heard of police knocking. was one of those. And I answered the door, half, Does anybody else have a problem with their iPhone does not recognize their face when they wake up? but anyway, so and there's a police officer at the door, and he's like, "Are you Donnie Banks?" And at this time, I was not going by Donnie, so I was like, "Why?" Do you know where your car is? I think my friend Joe has it. It's Cootie. Cootie's first name was Joe. It was Joe and Joey, but he had, I don't know why, but he had asked to use my car, and I'd given him the keys. I do remember that before I fell asleep, and he's like, "Okay, and do you know where Mr. Cootie is?" And I'm like, I do not. And he's like, "Well, he's in the parking lot." I'm like, "Well, that's good." He wrecked your car. But don't worry, he only hit both ends. Yeah. So, okay, so I go out to the parking lot, and all that's happened is he's backed up, and he backed the back tail light into the trailer hitch of a truck and busted it out. Nothing major. And in the turning process, he had scrubbed a Mustang with the little, I drove a 95 Neon at the time. Plymouth Neon, not a Dodge.
Oh, no.
And so, but it had the little black bumper guard on it, so there was no damage on my car whatsoever, and there's a little black scuff on this lady's Mustang. And she was mad. And she started yelling at me. Like, I couldn't understand, I couldn't comprehend it. And she's like, "You hit my car." And I was like, "I was asleep." And then the cop explained to her that I wasn't driving, and she calmed down. And then after she found out that we were all in the Army, she decided not to press charges. So, yeah, that was my first trip abroad. Let's see, what else is in here? I went through this, and I started thinking of stories, and I started writing stuff down. So, people have asked me why I'm doing this show, and I've always wanted to do a show. I'm not a singer, so I'm not going to. This guitar is not even mine. It was already here. I'm going to be using it. But I'm an actor. I like to tell stories, and people tell me that I have good diction, perverts. So I wanted to talk to y'all, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, I wrote a poem. Anybody want to hear it?
Yes.
Yes. Here we are.
Sorry.
That was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It's all part of the show. All right. The name of this poem is "What I Need from Life." What I need from the store. That's not right. Hang on. I think I grabbed the wrong list or paper. Yeah, I can make it work. It's cool. We
It's all
can do
vegan
this.
shit.
We can make it work. All right. What I need from the store: arugula, bananas, tofurkey for sandwiches, coconut milk, cereal, bottled water, mineral, pretzels and hummus, mushrooms, fungus, salsa and chips, bread, mustard is a shopping list, it's not going to rhyme, dried herbs, rosemary and thyme, dog food, potatoes, tortillas, tomatoes, yeah, shampoo, condoms, Magnum, PI DVD box set. You didn't let me finish.
I knew that was coming.
All right. After Robert's gonna be doing a set. So my mom's name is Hank. It's not her birth name, but it's what everyone knows her as. You can. My dad will clarify that. I was raised by her. My mom and dad weren't married. I am a bastard. There's some perks to being a bastard. I don't have to fill out as much paperwork as most of you. I get to leave the father's name blank. It's not on my birth certificate, so I don't have to fill it in. But my mom's name is Hank, and she is a very religious woman. She's Pentecostal. That's the way I was raised. She doesn't wear makeup. She only wears long skirts, and she's a wonderful person. But one of my mom's favorite things is toilet paper. She loves toilet paper, which, unrelated, I think toilet paper is kind of weird. Because, I mean, if you get poop on your hand, you're going to wash it, right? You're not just going to take a piece of paper and wipe it off. But it is what it is.
Good days.
But I wasn't allowed to celebrate Halloween as a kid. I've never trick-or-treated. I never believed in Santa Claus. But one Halloween, specifically, my mom, we didn't have toilet paper. And she prayed for toilet paper. And these local neighborhood kids TP'd our house. Or trailer, but 6 rolls of it did not unwind at all. They just fell very gently under the tree. So we had toilet paper. The Lord works in mysterious ways. So I in the title, I do describe myself as trailer trash. I don't actually think I'm trash. However, I have dealt with the stereotype most of my life. I did go to an Ivy League institution. As you can see my degree here, I went to Columbia in New York, which is a wonderful place. But I took, actually, I need a story before this story, so we'll lead into it. When I first got into Columbia, people asked, and I went to Western Piedmont, and I got in, and people were like, "Oh, are you transferring to college?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to Columbia." South Carolina, got that a lot. But my personal favorite is, you speak Spanish. Pero sí, yo puedo hablar un poquito porque estudié español hace 4 semestres en la Universidad de Columbia. But my first semester there, I was taking Spanish. And we were supposed to do this presentation in elementary Spanish about our parents' house, apartment, home, what have you. And I raised my hand in all earnestness, and I was like, "Como se dice trailer in español?" And the professor was like, she was confused, and I was like, "Mobile home?" And she's like, she said to me, "That's weird." It's a caravana, by the way, if you're curious. But I've lived in trailers most of my life, actually. I live in one currently. And I'm not talking modular home or double wide, this fancy trailer crap. I'm talking like when a cat walks across the roof, it's like being inside of a beer can. Curtis knows what I'm talking about.
How's it like when it storms, man?
Okay. So in the military, though, I did use a lot of weapons. I've trained with a lot of different, rifles and 50 cal machine guns and grenade launchers and things. And the weapon that I'm the best with is a 203 grenade launcher. Anybody know what that is? I know there's got some people over here that do. Yeah, it's an undermounted grenade launcher for a rifle, M16s, M4s, things like that. And we went to a range once, and I was just naturally good at it. I'd never shot one before, and for qualification purposes, you use paint rounds. So you put these, and the actual thing is like the barrel on it looks like a very large shotgun barrel almost. And you put it's about that big, the grenade that you load up into it and you load it under, and there's a lot of trajectory and stuff involved with it, so you kind of got to aim up and kind of float it into where you want it. And they gave us 5 of these paint rounds, and what we had to do was, the first round, there was a window. I don't remember how far it was out. I want to say 50 yards is probably too far, I don't remember. But there's a window, and you had to get it within a certain radius of the window, and then further out there was a vehicle, and you had to get it within a certain radius of the vehicle, and then even farther out there were people in the open. They were like mannequins, dummies, and stuff, and you had to get it within a certain radius. You know, and you get 5 rounds, and you have to hit each target with the 5. And so the first round, I shoot it right through the window. Second round, right on the hood of the truck. Third round, right in the middle of the people. So I got 2 paint rounds left. And I'm sitting there. And my buddy Jimmy is my NCO behind me. And he's like, bet you can't hit the range sign. So between each range, there's these little black and white signs that divide them. They have the number like, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're not very big. They're like a speed limit sign, maybe probably smaller than that actually. And they're sitting out there past the first target, a little past it. And so I was like, okay. And there's just paint orange rounds. So I lean back and and I put it, and it sells just right over it. And I was like, okay, I got 1 more, gotta make it count. And I did, I just fire, and I hit it, and I was like, boom, orange paint goes everywhere, it blasts up, and I heard from the tower, thanks. Do it again, and you're off the range. I don't have to do it again. I already did it. I got in trouble a lot when I was in the Army, by the way. Actually, this is my Class A jacket over here. It was the dress uniform. They don't use these anymore, but this was the uniform I had when I was in. And actually, the rank on it is not the rank I left the military with, because I got demoted about 5 months before that. I had a bit of a smart mouth, and I got in trouble quite a bit. I don't have a story for that. I mean, I actually have plenty of stories. I'm not going to tell you a story about that. Let's see. What time is it? You know what time it is? Where are we at?
Time to return.
9:50? How long are y'all hanging out for? How long are we doing this? I can go as long as you're going to listen.
Thanks.
Maybe an intermission.
Pause for a beer break at 10, and we're good to go for another
All
hour.
right, I'm good with that. I'm good with that, because I could do some more myself. Okay. So, I'm a server. Part-time. I teach. If you don't know that about me, I teach at Western Piedmont. I teach theater. But I'm a server at Moondog on the weekend. I'm not a very good server. That's not entirely true. I have a great memory. I'm nice. There are a lot of aspects about me that make me a good server, but I also have little tolerance for dumb people, and I will not be talked down to. And I host a lot there, actually. Most Sunday nights I host, and there's this very large sign that says, "Please wait to be seated." Front door. People do not do that a lot. They just kind of walk in and they sit down. And I'm passive aggressive by nature. It's actually a flaw, and I'm a bit petty. If I had a band, I'd call them the Heartbreakers. That one's for you.
I was either thinking of that or Richard Petty somehow.
But and there's this family that used to come in. I stress used to, because I haven't seen them since this incident. But they come in and they would always seat themselves, and I'm always there. And then the last time that happened, last straw. So I walked over and I grabbed this very large sandwich board that says, "Please wait to be seated." And I walked it over and I put it in front of their table. They haven't been back. I'm surprised I still work. I might not after tonight.
Oh, no, you can't quit.
Oh, I'm not gonna quit. I just, they might fire me. My first serving job was at a Ruby Tuesday in Fayetteville, 2007. Worked about 3 months. I'd never waited tables before in my life, and the only reason they hired me is because the manager thought I was cute, which that's the way it goes. And I walked in, and they was like, "Ooh, yeah, you're hired." So I'm working there, and this was back when there were smoking sections in restaurants, and this is where I'm going to get to that F word for the show, just so you know. And it's 4 o'clock, and if any of you've ever worked in a restaurant, that's about the time of shift change. And I'm the only server there. I'm there for night shift. The morning shift has left me. None of the other evening servers have arrived yet. And we have this new host who is sitting people in the entire restaurant rather than trying to confine them to a section. I got about 10 tables at this point, and I'm running around the restaurant like just crazy. And there's this, oh, thank you very much. No more intermission, guys.
Cameron, you bring one for everybody,
my bits, so.
Alright, we can still do it. After this story, we'll do it. We'll take 10. So, I'm running around the restaurant, and I have this lady in smoking section, and she's already been rude to me about the lack of ranch on the salad bar. Yeah.
To be fair, that's a pretty thing.
To be fair. You should all watch Letterkenny. That's what that was about. So, we're there, and I'm running around, and I come by this lady to check on her, and she's like, "Can I get an ashtray?" "Absolutely, ma'am." And I turn around and I grab one off the bar. And there's no cigarette butts in it, but there is some ash in the bottom of it, and I put it on the table, and I walk away. I'm running around, going to my business, I'm doing my thing. I come back by a few minutes later to check on her. "This ashtray you gave me is dirty." "Bitch, it's a fucking ashtray." And I grabbed it, and it was made of glass, and I threw it at the wall, and it exploded in all this wondrous glory everywhere. And my manager came out the back, and at this point, it's past the point of no return now. So I gave her the finger, and I walked out. Found out later that lady cried. All right, everybody go get a beer.